All right, everyone, welcome to the Technical Transportation Committee. We're going to go ahead and get started. We do have a quorum. Before we get into this too much, I do have a little bit of sad news to pass along. Some of you may have heard this, but the longtime chair of this committee, Dr. John Fricker, who had recently retired, passed away last week. So I would like to start this committee meeting by observing a moment of silence in his honor. All right, thank you, everyone. And with that, we will go ahead and get into the regularly scheduled program. So the first item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes from the June 15th meeting.
I'll move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have several seconds, so I think that's sufficient for at least one. Are there any discussion, correction, or typos or other errors that people have noticed? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the June 15th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. So then the next item we will be going on to is access permits. And I'm not sure if we actually have someone from NDOT here to run us through this. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot based on what they sent us out beforehand. And if we have any questions, we'll just try to communicate that to them afterwards. Okay, so yeah. We kind of have a couple permit applications still in process. These are very similar to what we've been seeing the last couple of months. We have this Klondike Middle School permit as one of them, as well as this fuel and convenience store permit. And we're still waiting on some revisions and approvals for those, as you can see in the far right-hand column there. As well as there are several active permits, the Newman Road Roundabout permit. We do have a note here that was completed, but it does need a final inspection. And the Speedway permit, no work has begun as of May 7th. Anvil 38, the right-of-way portion is complete, but again, we need an inspection there. Iija Road, the work has not begun with NDOT right-of-way at this time on that, so that's still in process. For the Domino's, just says work progressing. Love's Truck Stop did get approval on the 11th, so we got very recent approval on that one. So we will have to see where that one heads. Unfortunately, I don't think I can answer any questions, but if there are any questions about any of these, I'm certainly happy to note them down and pass those along to NDOT. So are there any questions from anyone about any of these? I will take that as a no. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a TIP amendment. So, Doug, if you'd like to come up and...
You're assuming if I'd like to.
Right.
Good afternoon. We have received another request to amend the TIP for several projects. I'll go through those fairly quickly. Two of the projects are already currently programmed in the TIP. One is on State Road 38, the other is on US 52. The one on State Road 38 is a scour protection project. It's over the South Fork of the Wildcat Creek, and basically they are programming federal and state funds for preliminary engineering. And then the right-of-way phase will be changing from 2022 to 2023. And then for the US 52 project, the construction year is changing from 2026 and moving up, which is kind of rare, to 2023. And they are also changing the type of federal funds, going from STBG funds, which are 80-20 split between federal and state, to HSIP funds, which are now a 90-10 split. There are 4 new projects that are being requested to be programmed in the TIP, and they are located on State Road 26, 28, and US 52. For the 26 project, the bridge over the South Fork of the Wildcat Creek, this is a thin deck overlay project with PE in 2023, and construction, it's outside of the TIP actually in 2027. For the project on State Road 28, this is a drainage ditch correction. This is located almost 4 miles east of the 25 East Junction, and they are programming PE right-of-way and construction. And yes, the construction amount does look kind of small, and that's because 27 will be the major portion of construction. And of course, that's not going to be programmed in the TIP because our TIP only goes to 26. The project on 52, one of them is a pavement patching project, and this is located 0.8 miles north of State Road 43 to 3.44 miles south of State Road 38. And then the last one on 52 is a HMA overlay minor structural, and this is from State Road 352 to US 231, the West Junction, and they're programming all 3 phases. And again, construction is small. The major portion of construction will be in 2027. Now, the last project on here is a request to eliminate a safety project, and this is located on I-65. This is a windbreak project dealing specifically with planting trees and shrubs. And staff internally had some significant discussion about this because, one, it is a safety project, and to eliminate a project, specifically a safety one, we would like to have more information why they are doing this. The only information that we were provided at this time was that the project has had some hurdles and it's been modified multiple times. It needs modified again. They are uncertain at this time as to the full extent of the scope of work for the new updated project, unsure when it can be programmed, and opted to eliminate it and start fresh. So we are recommending that this project not be part of this TIP amendment, but that at some future date, could be next month, that somebody from NDOT specifically would like to have the project manager come to this body and specifically give details about this. And the reason why, again, it's safety, is specifically on I-65. Remembering back to when we programmed this project, it dealt specifically with winter, the amount of trucks that were needed to plow and maintain opening 65 because of the snow. And then with the addition of the windbreaks, that it would reduce the number of accidents with trucks and cars. So we thought that we would like to have an NDOT representative here to actually explain this, explain what's going on before processing the amendment. So at this time we are asking for a recommendation to the policy board of all the projects except for the last one. Any questions or comments? So we'll need a recommendation and a vote.
I'll make a recommendation that we approve all the projects except for the I-65 natural windbreak program as outlined.
We have a motion. We do need a second before we can vote on this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So last call for further discussion, especially since we're not quite doing this exactly as NDOT wanted initially. All right, well, hearing none, then I think we're ready for a vote. So all those in favor of recommending approval of this amendment as outlined, including not recommending removal of the windbreak project, say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. So we will move this along to the policy board.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, so then our next item is talking about some of the new funding categories in the IIJA. So while Doug's up here, we'll go ahead and have him walk us through that.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting from the bill, as some people from Federal Highway call it, or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. There are new funding categories, and I will be briefly going over two of those. First one here that we have up on the display, and then in your packets as a summary, is the Safe Streets and Roads for All funds. And as I highlighted, you see in paragraph number 2, the specific purpose for this is looking at improving road safety, specifically reducing or eliminating roadway fatalities and serious injuries. That's the main goal of these funds. Now, these funds are available for two different things. One is to develop an action plan or supplement an action plan, and the second one is for implementing, and that's where you would go from projects that are programmed in the action plan to actual projects constructing them. Now, since this is fairly new, the US DOT or within the bill, there is an option that you can go through and do a self-certification and look at what documents you have in-house or what's already put together to see if those qualify for an action plan. We actually went and did that probably maybe a month and a half ago. And the documents we specifically looked at are one, Bike Walk Greater Lafayette, that safety plan that was put together that was amended into the MTP or Long Range Transportation Plan. We looked at the bicycle, pedestrian, and fatality crash reports, and then we also looked at the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan that was recently approved. So in looking at those documents and the checklist, we discovered that these documents do qualify as action plan. So that opens us up to, one, we could do a supplemental action plan and actually put together, one specifically dealing with roadway fatalities and serious injuries, or we could go to directly implementation grants. In terms of the implementation grants, those projects need to be either in the Bike Walk Greater Lafayette Safety Plan or are recommended as basically in the comparison that Tim did of the goals and objectives for safety. So there's a table in the back that has a list of projects, and it also has a list of the objectives under safety. So if those projects are checked, those are eligible, or we think they should be eligible for implementation grants. So again, this is a high-level analysis. What you have in spreadsheet-wise, or not spreadsheet, but as an attachment, gets more details. Specifically, the following activities are not eligible under the projects and strategies for funding. And projects or strategies which primary purpose is not roadway safety. Projects and strategies exclusively focused on non-roadway modes of transportation, including air, rail, marine, and pipeline. But then what is applicable and can be applied for: low-cost roadway safety treatments, transferring a roadway corridor on a high-injury network into a complete street with safety improvements, installing pedestrian safety enhancements, and closing network gaps. And there's a much longer list within. Matter of fact, thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. So basically, within the handout, you have what is eligible and what is not. So kind of gives a better idea of what we can actually look for. So this time, I know there is some interest in this, and I know Rec is looking to put together a meeting specifically next week for this discussion. And if we can do that, great. If not, we can have or host a meeting to specifically discuss this. We're more than happy and willing to be the main lead on this application. It's for the application itself, an MPO can put this together. Cities, county, towns can put it together. Transit systems can even apply for these funds. So there is the specific list of who can actually do this. But if there is a desire to move forward with this, we would be more than happy to be the main body to put everything together and submit it. So, and that's basically, in a nutshell, those funds. The next, you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to understand the plan and self-certification and the next step to that. So the Greater Lafayette Safety Plan
Yes.
is in the plan now, right? And that has safe routes to schools in it. So does that mean we could do a safe routes to school project application at this point or not?
This one here? What is eligible in that plan, let me see if I can find it fairly quick.
B in your shortcut is develop and expand safe routes to schools program. It's programs. Does that include actually building safe routes to schools?
Yeah, the strategy, develop and expand safe routes to school program. So what's eligible, identify or develop resources and materials, deliver walking and bicycling skills classes with the school setting, provide materials on walking and bike safely to adults, establishing park and walk or remote drop-off locations, conduct bike or walk and bike safety adults near school, participate in walk to school day, and then bike to school day. But in the long-range plan, you have more projects that are listed. I think we can make a good case in point for something along a road corridor.
Trail system.
Sidewalks or trails, I think we can make a good case for that. But we would have to rely on the new long-range plan for that.
It wouldn't be, we're not automatically, just because it's in the Greater Lafayette plan, that doesn't automatically get us to a project application.
Correct. The scope, what's listed in that safety plan does not allow for construction of, the actual
bike trail.
hard trails or sidewalks. And that's where we'd have to draw on the planning support from the long-range plan.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that one's just when I picture as a low-hanging
Yeah.
fruit that we have a study already that says we need these trails to the schools.
Yeah. So one other thing that's a little bit tricky about this is that, this kind of came around pretty quickly. The call for projects, didn't open really. We didn't get a lot of information about this until May. It's just a couple more months before they're, asking for applications. So it is a pretty quick turnaround for this first cycle of it. Now, the good thing is that it does appear that this will be something that will be available year after year. So I think what we're going to want to do going forward is to put together some more detailed analysis, looking, like Doug said, specifically at crashes and incapacitating injuries and how we can maybe get together the specific type of plan that they would want to see for this that has some more of the hard projects we can put in the ground so that we can kind of have a rock-solid case as opposed to trying to dance around a little bit and, try to figure this out just like we were doing, a couple minutes ago. If we get something a little more concrete, I think it'll be easier in future years to do this. So that is our long-range vision for how to approach these funds.
I was just asking, since we do have a plan for a fairly substantial trail project, and it's always nice to be the first hog at the trough.
Exactly. You're right. Okay, so going on to the next funding program, Reconnecting Communities Pilot Program. That's the second handout, and basically The primary goal, as it states, reconnecting communities harmed by transportation infrastructure. So if you think back over the 40s, 50s, and 60s, construction of the interstate, construction of railroads that cut through neighborhoods, communities that were split, these funds target improvements to bring those communities together. We started looking at what we could do here locally. We've pulled out our, poverty data, and we pulled out also minority data to identify communities and where they have existed and where they've had existed in the past. And, once we start looking at those, then we could probably come up with some ideas of projects. I know for one, the first thing that came to my mind was seeing how we could tap these funds to build a pedestrian bike crossing across Sagamore Parkway in West Lafayette, so pedestrians and cyclists could cross Sagamore safely. But we'll have to dig into the details to see if we can match that up with this program and with the census data. So we just started getting into this, but basically put together the packet here to provide you the information with the program. So, and that's basically the information we have for those two programs. Any other comments or questions?
All right, so then I think we're good to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is the 18-month letting list.
And actually, there's really very little to report. As you look at the list, there's very few changes. You see Project 4, how exciting it is to see the Yeager Road project moving closer and closer to the top, still on track for an October bid letting. And then looking down the McCutcheon Pedestrian Safety Project, 1 month following that, project number 9. We have 2 projects that are new on the front page, Project 17 and Project 20. A district-wide ITS project, an April bid letting of 2023, and then a small structure replacement on Special 52 in July of 2023. And the only other 2 things I'd like to mention, Projects 21 and 22. This is, for example, the Project 21 that deals with institution roads in the Veterans Home, which is not programmed in the TIP right now. So we'll probably see an amendment for that. And then the second one, another county project, the Morehouse Road Phase 1 project on a November 23 bid letting. So it's exciting to have these 3 big projects shown on one bid letting, or on one 18-month letting list. So we've got a lot of construction here locally coming up in the next couple of years. Comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, so with that, we do have another item on the agenda under other business, which is talking about getting a new chairperson for this committee. So like I mentioned previously, Dr. Fricker had served as the chairperson for many, many years, and we are looking to replace him. So we've kind of been trying to approach this from a couple different avenues. So one of the reasons why we've had the representative from JTRP serve as the committee chair is so that way it kind of represents a neutral party. It's not favoring one of the jurisdictions, it's someone kind of from outside of that. So we are still hopeful we can find someone from JTRP that can fill those shoes. We did have a potential candidate from them that we thought could maybe do it, but it turns out that his schedule is pretty full, so he wouldn't realistically be able to make it to monthly meetings in person, which presents quite a challenge, I think, for being a committee chair. So we are still looking into maybe seeing if there might be another person who has a little bit more of a free schedule that could come monthly. And if that doesn't work out, and we can still get a representative from JTRP, but maybe not coming regularly, then we might look at having someone else be the chair for this committee. So we certainly don't need to actually decide on this today. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that this is something we are looking into. We would like to fill that at some point. So I would entertain any suggestions from the committee as to who they might feel would be a good representative or a kind of neutral chairperson for this committee.
Would we consider somebody from LTAP?
Well, we could, but since we don't currently have an LTAP representative, unless we were switching JTRP for LTAP, we would have to kind of change the composition of the board.
Right. But if you can't get a JTRP, I mean, would that be I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
It would be a third party, somebody with knowledge and yet can't feed in all the camps.
Right. And I don't want to put them on the spot too much, but, someone from City Bus might also be another good one is, they provide service in all the jurisdictions, so
Right.
they could potentially
That's what
be
made me think
another
of
good.
LTAP. They do all the jurisdictions.
So, and then also not to put someone else on the spot, but, the Purdue Airport, another kind of more neutral party, so we do have Purdue representatives as well. So I think we have a couple potentials. Again, I don't want to necessarily rush to make this decision, especially since we're still kind of trying to sort out a lot of things with trying to find a JTRP representative. But I just wanted to make everyone aware of what was going on.
Hopefully you can find some from JTRP, but
All right. Well, so that is all that we have on the agenda. But is there any other business from the committee? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So with that, we are looking to see if we've gotten any citizen comments through our online streaming platform. So see if we hear anything from our tech folks in the back about that. Okay, I'm hearing no, we have not gotten any comments online. And usually we do typically only take comments in person because this meeting is in person. So I will take a call for anyone out there who would like to make any citizen comments. The mic is open, so if anyone has any comments, please feel free to hop up. All right, so with that, looks like we can move on to our last item, which is adjournment. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right, we have a motion
second.
and a second. So with that, we will consider that motion. So all those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we will meet next on August 17th.